I filmed a breakup video. Moving on, staying strong. Shot in moody lighting with a hoodie and lo-fi beats. It went semi-viral. 47,000 views. I read every comment. Most were supportive. A few called me out for milking the pain. Then Lana messaged me. Her first words were, "You're brave." She followed me the same night I posted the video. Her account looked clean. Minimal posts, private, but her profile pic, blonde hair, high cheekbones, a hotel balcony behind her. I replied. She was in Miami for spring break. Said she liked my mindset. Said she had a suite and champagne and wanted someone real to share it with. I didn't question it. I was nursing heartbreak and looking for any kind of distraction. When you're hurt, you mistake attention for intimacy. And I fell for it. Fast. Our first date was on the rooftop of her hotel, overlooking Collins Avenue. She wore red lipstick and heels that didn't belong on sidewalks. Her smile was sharp. She kept asking about my journey, what it was like to grow an audience from scratch. Never once mentioned her own past. Said she liked to stay private. But she kept filming me, snapping photos of my torso when I stretched, holding her phone low under the table. I figured she wanted content. Everyone did these days. Still, something about her felt curated, like a trailer for a movie that didn't exist. 3 days in, we jet skied off Biscayne Bay. On the 4th, she invited me back to her suite. Marble countertops, a giant mirror. She poured champagne and told me I was different. I liked the way she said it. Like I was special. Like I was the one being chosen for once. That night, after filming a promo downtown for some off-brand creatine, we stopped at the Burger King near her hotel. It was just past 11 p.m., humid air sticking to the sidewalks. She ordered fries, barely touched them. I got a double Whopper. We sat in a booth by the window, while drunk tourists stumbled past outside. I tried to tell her a story about college, about Haley. She got quiet, pulled out her phone. After a minute, she said, "Haley sounds basic." It was the way she said it. Flat, dismissive, like she was editing my memories in real time. We walked back in silence. The suite felt colder than usual. She poured drinks, told me to take off my mic. Then she looked at me. Not angry, just still. "I know you're recording again," she said. I froze. My phone was in my pocket, mic still clipped to my shirt collar. The blinking light gave me away. I hadn't even noticed it was on. "I'm not mad," she said. "Just curious. Is this what you did with her too? Film everything? Edit the pain until it's palatable?" I didn't say anything. My mind raced. Why was she so calm? How did she know? She walked over to her bag and pulled out a USB stick, tossed it onto the bed like it was a room key. "Watch this alone," she said. "Then decide if you really want me here." I didn't stop her when she left. I didn't even ask where she was going. Just stood there, heart thudding, afraid to breathe. I plugged the USB into my laptop. The screen flickered. There were video files, dozens. At first, they looked like old vlog clips. Me walking on campus, picking up coffee, driving, sitting in my room, editing late at night. But the angles were wrong. Off-center, far away, then too close. Someone had been filming me, not just screen recording, watching. One clip showed me and Haley outside our old dorm. I recognized the hoodie I wore. Another showed her getting into my car. I hadn't even posted that day. The timestamp said it was from 2 months ago. That's when the dread really sank in. There was a folder labeled Regret Therapy. Inside were clips of Lana. Same voice, same mannerisms, but the rooms were darker, dingier. She looked thinner. Her hair wasn't styled. She sat on the floor in a bathrobe, whispering to the camera. "He'll come back when she breaks him," she said in one clip, rocking slightly. "I'll give him everything she never could." In another, "He needs someone who gets it, who gets him. She never did. I've always known." My fingers were numb. I couldn't feel the keyboard. Then came the final clip. It was filmed from across the street. Me walking into the Burger King earlier that night. The date stamp was today, 30 minutes ago. I slammed the laptop shut. She never came back. I waited until 3 a.m. The suite stayed empty. Her things were gone. Nothing in the drawers, no shoes by the bed. The minibar was untouched. The robe she always wore, folded and left on the chair, like she'd never been there at all. The concierge said there was no one checked in under her name. The credit card on file? Declined. I told the police, showed them the footage. They took my laptop, said it looked like identity fraud, possibly a long con. Maybe she'd been tracking me for weeks, maybe longer. But they didn't take me seriously. Not really. Not until I showed them the last clip, the one from the Burger King. They sent someone to canvass the area. Never found her. My content slowed down after that. I deleted most of the vlogs with Haley, then the breakup video, then the channel altogether. People asked why I ghosted, why I stopped uploading, why I left LA. I moved back in with my mom for a while, picked up a job at a gym, got quiet, but I still think about Lana, or whoever she was. It's been over a year. I'm in Texas now, changed my name on socials, started a new channel about strength training and mental health. No face, no vlogs, no personal life. Sometimes I still get messages. Bro, what happened to you and that blonde girl from Miami? Did you really date a stalker? Why'd you delete all your stuff? I never answer. Part of me wants to forget, but part of me also knows that I walked into that Burger King thinking I had control, that I could manage my image, tell my story, edit out the pain. And I was wrong. Lana, or whatever her real name was, didn't just want attention. She wanted authorship. She wanted to write me into her life, the same way I had written others out of mine. She studied me, mimicked the parts she thought I needed, and when that wasn't enough, she twisted the narrative. I haven't seen her since. But when I check into hotels late at night, I still glance at the security cams, still check the windows, because I'm not sure if she's gone, or just watching from another angle. I saw her again 2 weeks ago, or someone who looked just like her. It was outside a gas station in Arizona, midnight. I was filling up on my way to Albuquerque. She was standing by the ice machine, hood pulled up, phone in hand. She turned. Our eyes met. My stomach flipped, but she didn't approach me, just smiled. Then she was gone. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But when I got to my motel, there was a USB drive on the front desk. No note, no label. I haven't opened it. Maybe I never will. Because there's a line between documenting your life and surrendering it. Between sharing your truth and letting someone else script it for you. I spent years filming other people, editing them to fit my narrative. And in the end, I attracted someone who did the same to me. That's the real lesson, I think. When your whole life is content, eventually, someone might come along and want a piece of the script, even if they have to write it in blood. The more we filter our lives through lenses and edits, the easier it becomes to lose track of what's real and who's really watching. You don't realize how much a person can unravel until you've had to start over with nothing. For me, it happened slowly. A toxic engagement I couldn't fix, a lease I couldn't afford, long nights in a freezing car with a duffel bag of clothes and a charger that only worked if I bent it just right. That's what Pittsburgh was for me by the end. A graveyard of plans and apologies. So I left. Packed what I had and drove west until the gas money ran out and the streetlights felt unfamiliar enough to pretend I was someone new. Cincinnati wasn't perfect, but it had a pulse. I landed a night shift at a Burger King on Main Street, right in the middle of downtown. It wasn't glamorous, hell, it barely felt safe, but it paid enough to keep a roof over my head. A one-bedroom in Over the Rhine with creaky floors and water stains on the ceiling. The kind of place that didn't ask questions when I handed over cash. I didn't get close to anyone at work, didn't want to. I showed up, kept my head down, did what I was told. The other employees thought I was quiet. The truth was, I just didn't have anything left to say. Then came Victor. He started showing up in late March. Always alone, always near closing time. Something about him didn't fit the neighborhood. Buttoned shirts, long coat, shoes too clean. He looked like he should have been in an office downtown, not sipping Sprite under flickering fluorescent lights at 3 in the morning. The first time he spoke to me, I had just dealt with a drunk guy screaming about cold fries. I stayed calm, got him out without a fight. Victor approached the counter after and said, "You're good at calming people down, that's rare." I didn't say much back, just nodded, gave a tired smile. But I remembered it. He kept coming in after that, maybe 2, 3 nights a week. He'd sit quietly, scrolling his phone, sometimes scribbling in a small notebook. Always watched me, never the others. And when he spoke, it was always the same. Oddly observant compliments that made my skin itch. "You've got a quiet strength. I like how you move, deliberate, not like the others." At first it felt harmless. Maybe he was just lonely. God knows I was. But then, one night around 2:30 a.m., he walked through the back door. No buzzer, no knock, just walked into the kitchen like he belonged there. "You left it open," he said, like we were roommates or something. I thought I'd help close up. My whole body went cold. "You can't be back here," I said. He raised his hands. "Relax. I used to work jobs like this too. I know what it's like. Invisible until someone needs you." Then he placed something on the prep table, a wrapped candy bar. "For you, no tricks." I didn't touch it. After that I started checking the locks, twice, sometimes 3 times. I changed my walking route home, avoided the bus, tried to shake the feeling that I was being followed. It didn't work. A week later, I found a note taped to my locker. "You're not alone. I see you." Nobody saw who put it there. The cameras in the break room were shot. Water damage from a leak we'd never fixed. The manager, Heather, said she'd flag the guy if he showed up again, but we were always short-staffed. Between the turnover and the chaos, no one had time to care about a maybe stalker who left notes in candy bars. That Friday, I pulled a shift alone. Midnight to 3 a.m. Heather had called out, and our last cook had quit on the spot 3 days earlier. The store was technically closed. The lobby lights were off, doors locked, but I still had cleanup and closing tasks to get through. Around 12:40 a.m., the drive-through headset buzzed in my ear. 2 cheeseburgers, no pickle, just like you like them. My heart nearly stopped. I hadn't spoken to anyone about what I ordered on my break, not in weeks. I froze in place, listening. Nothing but static now. I crept over to the window, peeled back the curtain. No car, just an empty parking lot, and that one busted street lamp flickering like it was about to die. Then I heard it, a soft click. The staff bathroom door on the other side of the kitchen slowly creaked open. I hadn't touched it all night. I stepped closer, mop handle in hand, and then he stepped out. Victor, drenched in sweat, hair matted to his forehead. He was smiling like this was some casual drop-in. "I missed our talks," he said. I didn't respond, just backed toward the supply closet. My grip on the mop handle tightened. "You left the back open again," he said, like he was disappointed in me. "Maybe on purpose? Maybe you wanted me to come back." I snapped, shoved the mop at him and ran, locked myself in the office and called 911. They didn't show for 15 minutes. By the time the cops arrived, Victor was gone. No sign of forced entry, no fingerprints. But he left something behind. A laminated photo of me from high school pinned to the bathroom wall with a thumbtack. How he got it, I still don't know. That night broke something in me. I left the job the next day. Heather didn't ask questions, just said good luck and handed me my last check in cash. I moved apartments a week later, changed my number, deleted social media. I didn't sleep right for months. I got a job at a 24-hour cafe across town. Quieter neighborhood, less foot traffic, more cameras. I started drinking black coffee just to stay alert. kept a box cutter in my apron. I'd tell myself it was over, but deep down I knew better. Victor didn't want money. He didn't want revenge. He wanted something harder to name. Presence. He wanted to be seen. And worse, he wanted me to know he saw me first. 6 months passed. I was starting to breathe easier. Almost. Then one night, at 3:11 a.m., a man walked into the cafe, ordered a black coffee, no cream, paid in cash, sat by the window, didn't blink once. The receipt was still warm when I flipped it over. Under the tip line were 5 words. Still see you. Still watching. I didn't scream. Didn't call the cops. Just stared out at the man in the window seat, trying to decide if it was him or just my fear giving him a face. He wore a plain hoodie, no coat. Looked thinner, almost sick. But the eyes, the way he held his cup with both hands, it was him, or someone who wanted to be. I went to the break room, texted my manager, told her I had a family emergency, walked out the back door, crossed the street, and got on the next bus out of the city. Didn't even go home that night. I spent the next week crashing at a coworker's place, watching the front window every time I heard a noise. When I finally went back to my apartment, I kept the lights off, just in case he was watching. You think when someone disappears, it's over. But the worst ones don't want to hurt you once. They want to live inside your life, become part of your decisions, your panic, your silence. I don't know how he found me again. Burner phones leave no trail. Maybe he was never gone. Maybe he watches more people than just me. Or maybe he never really left Pittsburgh and I've been dragging his ghost ever since. I moved again. South this time. Smaller city. No night shifts. No online presence. I work mornings now at a hardware store. The pay's crap, but it's quiet. Honest. I rent a studio above a florist. Smells like lilies all the time. Peaceful. But I still wake up at 3:11 a.m. some nights, like my body knows the hour, like it's bracing. The thing is, I don't tell this story for pity. I tell it because people think monsters look like monsters, but they don't. They look like calm men in clean coats. They smile. They compliment your strengths. They leave candy bars with no wrappers broken. And sometimes they know where you'll be before you do. So I stay alert. I trust my gut now. I trust silence less. And I check the locks 3 times. Because it's not about being scared anymore. It's about knowing what not to ignore. Not every threat announces itself. Sometimes the most dangerous people don't chase you. They wait. Watch. And wear the face of someone who just wants to help. Trust your instincts. Even quiet danger is still danger. I never imagined I'd still be working at Burger King 3 years after my divorce. After we split, I needed a steady place, something right-handed and solid to hold me and my girls together. Temporary. That's what I told myself. But temporary lasted long enough for my older daughter Ava to turn 17, and for my younger Lily to start looking like an adult, too grown up for my liking. The rent kept climbing, car barely running, and I stayed mostly numb, moving from lobby cleanup to the grease line, trying not to think about what was coming due. Work used to feel mindless, like autopilot for hours. I trained kids who lasted a month. I smiled at customers. I made coffee and hamburgers and listened to the drive-through speaker click open. I focused on the routine so I didn't have to think. No thoughts of bills unpaid, custody schedules, loneliness. That was the deal. I first noticed him one Friday in April. Mr. Beck. He wheeled in just after 2:15 p.m., parked himself at table 5 near the soda station, then ordered 2 Bacon Kings and a Diet Coke. He ate slowly, sitting there for nearly 2 hours, watching the lobby. At first I thought he was lonely. An older man with no social guardrails, meant to be pitied, not feared. He'd say things like, "Nice hair," or, "You remind me of my youngest," but they felt like polite curiosity rather than threat. I handled them the same way I handled everything, a nod and a watered-down smile. 3 weeks in, my chest tightened when he said he'd seen my daughters waiting in the car. I laughed it off. I told Ava to start parking a block away after school. I chalked his attention up to innocent age and habit creeping past boundaries. But beneath my exhaustion, something inside me tensed. By the beginning of summer, he'd started leaving cash tips, large ones, $10, $20 at a time. I left them behind. I told him no, he didn't have to. He frowned when I declined, but he didn't push. Then I found it in the women's restroom. "You should smile more. I liked you better before you got cold." I stared at the note for too long. Wipe the hands clean, wash them off, flush. Manager shrugged. "Creepy guys exist, just don't look at him." I wanted to say the problem was more than creepy. It was invasive, but I was too tired to fight. That's partly why I didn't step in fast enough when he grabbed Mila a week later. I still see it. Him in the bathroom hallway, rolling toward her, a hand on her arm, his face grinning like he owned the place. Mila froze. My throat closed. I pulled him away and yelled. He let go, his face unreadable. That day the police came. He was banned. It should have ended there. But it didn't. 2 days after the police ban, a flood hit the mobile order system. Large orders under his name. Mr. Beck, Flagstaff, 20 burgers, 30 nuggets, 10 fries. All paid online with matching $100 gift cards. Nobody picked them up. The orders vanished. I stayed late just to log them and watch them disappear. My palms got sweaty every time my phone buzzed, fearing another order. Maybe it was the beginning of my mental unraveling. I started eyeing every delivery person like they were Mr. Beck. I ran to the restroom in the middle of shifts to empty my pockets of phones. I waited on every mobile order notification until midnight felt more like a horror movie queue. After a month, my eyes burned with tension. Ava asked what was wrong. "Nothing," I told her, but she kept watching. Then came the day a woman in her 40s came in with ash eyes and told me she lived 2 blocks from Mr. Beck's house. "It smells terrible. Something died." I mentioned the mobile orders. She nodded, eyes shifting. "It's been weeks," she said. My manager called the cops again. They went to Mr. Beck's house, found him dead for 3 weeks, covered in cat tracks. Dozens of starving cats roamed the floors. They'd eaten his left foot. He'd died maybe 10 days after receiving that note inside my bathroom. That night, I couldn't eat. The next day, I quit my shift. Told manager I needed mental health days. She nodded, handed my last check with no questions. Cracked open therapy. Ava came with me once. I saw my exhaustion on the couch. Lily cried in the other room. But then the mobile orders returned. App notifications after midnight and scheduled to hit right when my shift should start. Orders under his name. Each one left a pit in my stomach. I blocked the app, changed my phone number, changed my account info. Blew through hours with support agents until the mobile orders stopped. For a month I thought it was over. But then one afternoon I was scheduled for the drive-thru. Slow shift. Lunch buzz near real food, not fast food noise. My mind eased a bit, took a breath, then static. That intercom hissed. "You looked better when you smiled." It carried through the headset. Just that line, then dead silence. My pulse spiked. I dropped the headset, stumbled back. Manager came running. We checked logs. No replay. The system didn't show error. And yet, I had heard a man's voice. Calm. Familiar. Recording hovering somewhere beyond cables and speakers. Mila had replaced the broken intercom weeks earlier. I didn't tell her. I just handed her more sanitizer and avoided eye contact. I started driving into work with a thermos of coffee, just so I could hold something in my hands. Something real and weighted. And I began keeping a hand-sized crystal in my pocket. Someone in therapy thought it might ground me. I didn't care if it worked. I needed something I could feel. I talked to my daughters nightly about safety. Locked cars, lights outside, no tipping strangers. I felt myself bracing them for a kind of world I'd never before allowed myself to see. The cat smell lingered in my memory. The note lingered on the bathroom mirror. I burned it. The intercom voice lingered whenever I closed my eyes. I took things slower after quitting Burger King for good. Therapy was helpful, but I still flinched at midday lone customers. I couldn't work overnight anymore. My mind screamed every time a phone buzzed. So I found a 15-hour-a-week receptionist job at a stable dental office. I get home early. Nights are quiet. Rent's higher, but my sleep is solid. I told Ava and Lily our last stop would be here. I want them to remember a life after fear, not living with it. At home I laugh more. Sometimes things get loud and chaotic again. Music, dishes, gossip about crushes. And I'm glad. But there are nights I lie awake, waiting for that intercom voice in the house. When electricity flickers and I swear I hear a phrase in the static, smile more. When I fill out checks, I check my signature line twice. When I pass dark windows, I don't stop. I moved west. It didn't chase me far enough that my own mind stopped shadowing me. I went into therapy expecting to process grief over my divorce. I never expected to rebuild a spine or redefine what safety meant. I still feel cold sometimes, like I'm bracing for a man I've never seen, only felt. A voice without visibility. A person without identity. That's the lesson, I think. One warm afternoon in late September, I was in the car picking Ava up from her soccer practice. I waited in a Starbucks lot before we head home for dinner. I browsed the app mindlessly and nearly dropped the phone when I saw it. A mobile order, scheduled for today at 5:02 p.m., under the name Mr. Beck. My throat tightened, my skin flushed, but I didn't delete it. I stared. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a note. You never smiled again. I pulled the car around, called the cafe, talked to the manager. They pulled cameras. No clues. No car, no person, just another glitch, someone too intentional. That night, I held my daughters. I checked every window. I flipped the locks at 8 p.m., then again at 9 just twice. Felt a sort of calm rebuilding. Julia Cameron once said, "The mind is that safe house." I wish I remembered who said guard it well, because I think I finally understand that. You cannot outrun someone who lives in your head. And you cannot heal without learning to stay present in your own life, unafraid to smile again. True safety isn't just about locking doors. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself fear stole. You don't heal by hiding. You heal by living in the light and trusting yourself to smile again, even when the shadows still whisper. I used to believe that escape meant freedom. When I left Derek, I thought Spokane's outskirts would feel like safety. The cheap apartment, evening shifts at Burger King, and the constant hum of fryers would be enough to drown out fear. Instead, it all became background noise. Fries, faded linoleum, and the same rhythm of life I'd sworn I'd fled. Mason was 6, bright and curious. My world revolved around him, picking him up from school, helping with homework after closing time, and tucking him into bed before heading back to the restaurant or washing dishes until midnight. I didn't have time to unpack what we'd left behind. Exhaustion silenced the pain. Ken moved in next door shortly after I arrived. Retired mechanic, soda can in hand, porch light on as the rest of the complex darkened. He was polite, maybe overly so. He asked about my day, watched me carry groceries, held the door until I'd unlocked it. I said thank you. I let my guard down because I felt safe. I wanted to believe we were safe. That changed when Mason mentioned candy. He told me Mr. Ken gave him candy after school, even though I'd left him in the cafeteria. I asked questions I didn't want answers to. Ken's responses were casual. "For being such a big boy," he said, as if that explained everything. I tightened our routine. Homework, kitchen table, bedtime. I pulled the curtains shut early. I nudged open windows to check locks. The complex felt smaller and still less safe. Then Derek called. I thought that chapter would stay closed forever. But his voice came through one afternoon while I was cleaning the lobby. He said he missed Mason, called me toxic, said I was keeping him from his son. My chest went hollow. I blocked him, But hours later, I got a call from the school. Mason didn't make it to the pickup line. They released him to someone on my emergency contact list, Ken, with my signature forged. Fear exploded. I called the police. They said, "Are you sure Derek didn't pick him up? Maybe it's a misunderstanding." Their questions felt like demands for proof instead of compassion. I ran to Ken's door and banged on it until my fist stung, but he didn't answer. I asked a neighbor for a ladder to peek in. Blinds drawn, no movement. I collapsed against the wall when police finally forced entry. His school bag lay in the hallway, but no Mason, no Ken, nothing but silence and fear. I called every number I knew, teller lines, babysitters, work colleagues, but every minute Mason wasn't home felt like a burning line being traced across my heart. That night, the police issued an Amber Alert. News crews showed up at my door. The complex swarmed with cameras and lights. I curled up on my balcony wrapped in Mason's jacket to try and keep the cold and panic from spreading. That was when I got the call from a blocked number. It was Derek. Cold, calm, certain. "I told you I'd get him back," he said. "You can't raise a boy on fries and broken promises." Click. Every diner phrase I'd learned at Burger King amplified in my mind. Fries weren't magical. Burgers didn't fix a broken man. And there I was, working fry station to pay bills, while the father used school forms and forgery to steal our son. I went home at dawn. Mason wasn't there. I kissed his empty pillow. I scrubbed the fridge. Wrote myself into exhaustion I didn't have. He was found just before sunset the next day, at a rundown motel on the highway. Shaking, cold, tears and dirt lining his face. He whispered things like, "Mom, he said I don't have to come back unless..." The witness recognized Derek from alerts. They'd planned it together. Ken was arrested on kidnapping charges. Derek was found 2 states away and taken into custody. But Mason wouldn't sleep for weeks. The shadows in his bedroom told him stories. He asked why monsters lived next door. I didn't answer. I just held him, drew heart shapes on his sandwiches and told him we'd keep moving until I could make monsters invisible again. The next day I quit Burger King. I found work at a security desk at the public library, fewer fry smells, fewer nights alone. Instead, I scanned IDs and watched cameras thinking, I'll watch every door. We moved again, a little farther from Spokane. Mason's laughter comes more easily now. I sleep with the light on. I bought blackout curtains. But sometimes at night, I wake up to a knock that sounds like broken glass. A voice too calm to be safe reminding me of Derek's whisper. I tell friends I learned to trust again. I tell Mason we're okay, but I know better. Some lessons cost more than money, more than sleep. Some monsters don't live under beds. They live behind carnations in apartment complexes. They ask about boys, smile when they answer, and leave darkness in their wake. True safety isn't found in walls or schedules. It's built by trusting your instincts, protecting the small and innocent, and doing whatever it takes to keep love stronger than fear. Monsters may appear friendly, but protecting your family means believing what your gut tells you, even before the warning signs turn into alarms. I've spent most of my adult life being 2 people at once: the woman people ignore, and the woman who keeps everything from falling apart. My name's Lacey. I'm 41, single, and I live in a run-down duplex in South Memphis with my younger brother. He's disabled, cerebral palsy, seizure disorder, and I've been taking care of him ever since our mama passed 5 years back. She used to say I was born responsible. I guess that's true. I work 2 jobs. Daytimes at Burger King on 3rd Street, nights doing janitorial work in a downtown office building. I've been holding it all together with tape and prayer for as long as I can remember. This is the story of the summer it all came undone, and the strange kind of peace that followed. The air conditioning at the 3rd Street Burger King had been busted on and off since May, and by late June the store felt like a deep fryer. The smell of grease never left you. It clung to your pores, your teeth, even your hair after a shower. The managers like to say the job was easy, but that's only if you were 19, pretty, and didn't mind letting customers flirt with you for extra napkins. Me? I just worked. My manager Cheryl made no secret of who she liked and who she didn't. I was never on the right side of that equation. Too quiet, too slow, too tired. I cleaned up the fryer after everyone clocked out. I hauled boxes in 90-degree heat because no one else would. I covered the shifts nobody wanted, and I never said no when someone called in sick. On the schedule, I was listed as reliable. What that meant in real life was invisible. Then corporate announced a surprise audit. Cheryl panicked. She started repainting walls and reprinting fake customer surveys. She cut the hours of everyone over 30 and gave more shifts to the camera-ready girls she liked to flirt with the cashiers. I begged her not to cut mine. I needed those hours. My brother's medication had run out, and rent was 2 weeks overdue. "You want to keep your hours?" she said, smirking. "Try smiling more when the customers complain. Maybe lose the limp while you're at it. You look slow on camera." I swallowed hard. I'd messed up my knee years ago cleaning office stairs with no railing. That limp was with me for life. There wasn't a smile in the world that could hide it. Travis showed up the next day, fresh out of business school probably, with his neat haircut and khakis that hadn't seen a fryer in their lives. "Corporate trainee," he told us with a grin and a clipboard. He followed me for a whole shift. Watched how I swept, wiped, filled the drink machines. He pointed out my name tag was crooked, said my apron was off-brand standard. Asked why I sighed after every mop run. It was 100 degrees in the kitchen. The mop water was black sludge. I hadn't slept in 2 days. But I still answered him politely. At one point I was halfway through the lunch rush getting orders out, sweat dripping down my back, when Travis leaned in and told Cheryl, loud enough for everyone to hear, "We need someone younger up here. Fast food is visual now." That hit me right in the chest. I finished my shift. I didn't cry in the bathroom. I just sat in the stockroom after close and shook quietly, like my bones were tired of holding me up. The next morning, while I was bagging a breakfast order, I missed 6 phone calls. My brother had had a seizure. I rushed home to find the ambulance already gone. He was stable, the neighbor told me, but scared, alone, confused. I sat by his bed and held his hand for 2 hours before leaving for work again. I arrived late. Cheryl didn't ask why, just handed me a folded piece of paper. 3 strikes, she said. You're done. I didn't argue, didn't beg. I just handed over my visor and walked out the door into the heat. Outside, the sun bounced off the cracked concrete like it wanted to melt the soles off your shoes. My eyes scanned the parking lot without meaning to, and that's when I saw it. The rental car, the same white sedan Travis drove. Parked in the disabled spot, engine still running, windows sealed tight. He was probably inside on his phone, updating Cheryl's performance metrics. Probably sipping iced coffee while the rest of us dripped sweat in the kitchen. That did something to me. I didn't go home right away. I walked across the street to the payday loan office. The woman behind the glass had a crooked smile and pink nails. "How much you got left?" she asked. $83, I said. She printed a check and slid it under the glass. "You want to roll it forward?" "No," I said. "I'm done." I didn't go back to Burger King. I didn't explain. I just disappeared like grease down a drain. A week passed. Word got around that Cheryl had been demoted. Corporate found doctored time cards, fake surveys. A cashier who'd quit months earlier filed a report that Travis had made inappropriate remarks during training. He was reassigned to a new region. Quietly, of course, they never admit these things out loud. I heard about it from a friend who still worked there. She asked if I wanted to come back. Said things were different now. I told her thanks, but no. What I didn't tell her was I already had another job. Not glamorous, not something you brag about, but it paid cash, and I didn't answer to anyone with a clipboard. I cleaned the bathrooms at the city bus station 3 nights a week. Wore a janitor's jumpsuit and headphones. Hummed while I worked. It's funny. When you stop caring what people think, you start breathing easier. A young cashier at Burger King, one of the new hires, said she saw me once in the bus station bathroom. She was cleaning the sinks, had headphones on, didn't even look up, just humming like she didn't have a care in the world. They asked if I seemed upset, broken even. She shook her head. No, she looked like someone who finally stopped pretending. And she was right. I don't walk with pride, not exactly, but I walk lighter now. I still limp, sure, but I don't apologize for it anymore. I take care of my brother, pay our bills on time, and when I clean, I do it my way, with music in my ears and no manager watching over my shoulder. There's a quiet kind of strength in knowing your worth, even when no one else sees it. The world may not clap for you, may not even notice when you walk away, but sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just leave. Not with a bang, just with your head high and your heart intact. Don't wait for anyone to make it better. Sometimes you have to make your own way out. I didn't come to Georgia seeking drama. I came for a second chance. After I finally escaped the chaos of my roommate in Florida, the mental abuse, late-night yelling, slammed doors, I loaded up what little I owned and drove until I found something quieter. Savannah wasn't quiet exactly, but the name felt soft enough to breathe into. I found a small sublet above a dry cleaner and a job that asked no questions, an evening shift at the Burger King on Abercorn Street. Working there was like doing a dance in autopilot. I'd clock in, count the drawer, take orders, mop floors, close up, and disappear into the dark before traffic had even picked up. I became good at being invisible. No phone number given, no questions asked, no friendships made. When they asked where I was from, I said I moved here recently. No details. I didn't need people. I just needed rent paid. For 2 months it stayed routine. Rainy nights, broken ice machines, slow lulls between the lunch and dinner rush. I got to know the regulars, the tired shift workers, couples grabbing a quick meal, parents too exhausted to cook. Nothing made me uneasy. Nothing seemed worth noticing. Until one Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., when I clocked in on a night drenched in rain and leftover humidity. Sheeted water hit the windows, tossed the drive-through sign like a flag, and made everything inside feel soggy. That's when the brown pickup pulled in. He ordered a single cheeseburger and a Coke. No fries, no upcharge. When he pulled up, I slid open the window and handed him his food. He smiled too long, like he was holding the moment instead of letting it pass. Then he said, "You got the kind of face people remember." Thanks. I tried to be polite. Too polite. I handed him a $5 bill and took the change without looking in his direction. I shut the window and started restocking napkins. 10 minutes later, the truck was back through the drive-thru. Mist heavy in the air, water streaming off the menu board. He said something about too much ice, so I made a fresh drink. I set it in the tray and slapped the window shut before he could linger. "Hey," his voice came over the headset. "You close soon, right? I could wait in the lot. Walk you to your car." This time I hesitated. I said nothing, just gave the tight-lipped smile that usually worked. But he kept talking. "I hope that's okay. Just don't want you walking out alone." I told Devin, the shift lead, half college kid, half incessant smoker. He laughed it off. Chivalry, Claire. He's probably just being nice. He went back to cleaning the fryer, oblivious to the truck idling just beyond the window. I peered through the blinds. Brown pickup, no headlights, no driver, just stillness. By 9:15 p.m., Devin had left early. I flipped the open sign to closed and wiped counters until my arms ached. My keys were trembling in my pocket. I stepped through the back door, rain-slick bricks scraping my heels as I made a beeline for the lot. I got to my car, metallic gray, just months rented, and slammed the door shut. I pressed lock, and then headlights cut across the wet pavement. The pickup had lunged forward. It blocked my exit. I spilled the key into the ignition. Rain spattered the windshield. Snow or hail, not sure which, but cold. He appeared at the window a second later, calm, collected. He tapped the glass. "You didn't say goodbye," he said. I looked away, fumbled the car into reverse, and felt the back tires slip in the mud. He slammed a fist on the glass, just once. I floored it. Tires squealing across pavement and grass, launched over the curb and kept going. I didn't drive home. I needed light and people. I ended up at a 24-hour Walgreens. I hid in the glow of the pharmacy sign for over an hour, shaking so hard my water cup rattled in the cup holder. I had no one to text, no one who'd answer. Ultimately, I called a domestic violence hotline, not because my abuser was a partner, but because I needed someone to say it mattered. They said it was enough, and for the first time in months, I believed them. I filed a police report 3 days later, gave the license plate that didn't exist, described his truck, even mentioned the first comment. "You got the kind of face people remember." The officer nodded, took my words, but never sounded like he believed me. That was okay, I didn't need him to feel. I just needed a record. I transferred to a Burger King across town days later, moved my route, changed my parking location, bought a retractable pepper spray I kept hanging from my keys. I refused to drive out at night with my windows tinted. I began checking my rear view and side mirrors obsessively. On my first shift in the new location, I wiped my station clean, trying not to let paranoia slip into my smile. The new store was nicer, clean tile floors, working ice machine, full dining room. I kept a low profile, head down. And for the first few weeks, no strange men, no empty headlights, nothing mirrored my experience on Abercorn. One night, nearly a month later, I clocked out early. Cup of coffee in hand, I dared hope I might forget some of that fear. I pulled onto the main road and steered toward home, but then there it was. Brown pickup truck, taillights on, idling at the stoplight ahead of me. I froze behind the wheel. My heart tried to leap into my throat and run out through my ears. I waited for it to turn green. It didn't. Then it did, except the truck didn't move. So I turned into a side street to avoid it. I checked my visor mirror, it was still there. I pulled into a different parking lot, sat in the car for 20 minutes, then drove in circles at 1 a.m. until I convinced myself he'd gone. I never called the police again. I started seeing signs around town. Reports of someone matching his description near McDonald's, Taco Bell, IHOP. Always after hours, always hanging back. License plate that traced to a different state. No charges, no arrests. That summer, the police leaked a caution for restaurant workers, but there was no picture, no details. One of those, "Don't let strangers approach your vehicle" flyers tucked in the corners. It didn't feel enough. Once I found a flyer slid under my windshield wiper at night. Just a printout of a pickup truck and "Look out" in all caps. No number, no details. Just the truck. A coworker, new to fast food service, asked me once if I was okay. I brushed her question away. But by the time I clocked out, she called me. Said, "That guy followed me in my car last night. Pulled up behind me in the Taco Bell strip. Then he just pulled in beside me, circle, and..." You know what he said? I didn't wait for the answer. He said, "You didn't say bye." She hung up. I nearly threw my phone against the steering wheel. I kept working nights. I kept carrying pepper spray. I learned the way he looked, how harmless he seemed until the moment he wasn't. I carried suspicion. I developed routines, flashlight in hand if I got to the car after midnight, quick rounds through the lot before sleeping at night. Then, one muggy July night, I dropped off some things at a friend's. I got back in my car after sunset and noticed a man slumped inside the brown pickup parked 2 cars away. Interior lights off, but the engine was running. My blood froze again. I ducked back into my friend's porch and called the hotline. I sat there sequentially calling 911 and sending them screenshots of him from my phone. I stayed under the porch lights until an ambulance and cop car appeared. They found nothing. No plates, no ID. Truck was empty. They said he'd vanished. But I felt alive. Autumn rolled in and I hit my 2-year mark at the Burger King chain. I'd started to think maybe I could breathe someday without waiting for dread. I got my own apartment, A one-bedroom with electric windows, a doorbell that buzzed when someone came. The smallest things felt like armor. That night, a car pulled into the lot just before I left for my closing shift. My stomach dropped for a minute before I reminded myself to breathe. I watched as they parked, door opened, hood of a jacket flared out. I opened the lobby door steadily, walked through my station and clocked out. I didn't turn until I was halfway across the parking lot. I kept walking until I was in my car and locked inside. I checked the rearview mirror. Empty. My breath hitched. I drove off. I've never seen him again. Every feeling of dread you ignore can be the whisper of a danger that won't just go away. Staying safe isn't paranoia, it's preparation. If something feels wrong, act on it. Your instincts are there for a reason, and if you ever wonder whether it matters, whether you'd be overreacting, remember, you are worth more than feeling safe. People always expect a horror story to come with something loud. Sirens, screaming, headlines, maybe even a body count. Mine's quieter than that. No blood, no chase, no one caught in the act. Just a cold Tuesday in Montana, a plastic tunnel slide, and the wrong kind of smile. I was 9 years old the winter it happened. My parents had split when I was 7, and I only saw my dad every other weekend, if that. He wasn't the type to remember birthdays or parent-teacher nights. But that day he showed up at school for pickup with his work truck still idling out front, and a promise to take me to Burger King. He said we could hang out for a bit, maybe hit the play area if it wasn't packed. I didn't question it. At that age, any time with your dad feels important, even if he's half distracted and checking football scores while you're trying to tell him how you got a B+ on your science quiz. We pulled into the Burger King off Grant Creek Road. Snow was piled high in the parking lot, and the sun was already low, throwing long shadows across the lot. The place was mostly empty except for 2 families, one with a toddler throwing fries on the floor, and another with 2 tired-looking parents scrolling their phones while their daughter argued over apple slices. The play place was a bubble of color tucked in the corner, bright reds, blues, and yellows, but dulled by years of use and grime. I asked if I could go in while Dad ordered. He said sure without looking, already at the counter, talking to the cashier about the Grizz game. I slipped off my shoes and climbed into the padded entrance of the play zone. It smelled like feet and old ketchup, but to me it was still a castle. That's when I saw her. She was sitting cross-legged near the tunnel slide. I remember her coat first, an old faded green like the kind you'd find at a thrift store. Sunglasses indoors. She didn't look homeless, but she didn't look like she belonged either. Adults don't sit in the play place, not unless they're chasing a giggling toddler or pulling a stuck kid out of the tunnel. She wasn't doing either. She noticed me watching and smiled. "Hey there," she said. "Your dad letting you have dessert today?" I stopped halfway between the padded stairs and the slide. I don't know." "You like shakes?" she asked. "I got an extra one, Oreo. It's over there if you want it." She nodded toward a tray sitting near the emergency exit. I hadn't noticed it before. I didn't move. Something about the way she said it didn't feel right. The whole thing felt like a setup I couldn't explain but didn't trust. Still, she kept smiling. "I can walk you back to your dad if you're nervous," she said, starting to get up. That's when my legs took over and I ran. I bolted out of the play area without thinking. My socks slipped on the tile as I scrambled toward the counter. I grabbed the bottom of my dad's jacket and yanked, breathless and wide-eyed. He looked down, surprised. "What?" "There's a lady," I said, tugging harder. "In the play place. She said I could have a milkshake. She's just sitting in there." He frowned, like I'd interrupted something more important than what I was saying. "What are you talking about?" I pointed behind us. She said she had an Oreo shake for me, but she wasn't with anyone. Dad turned slowly, scanning the dining area, then the play zone. But by the time his eyes got there, the woman was gone. The coat, the sunglasses, the tray. Everything. Vanished. He looked back at me. You sure? Yes, she was right there. One of the workers behind the counter raised an eyebrow. Something wrong? My dad waved him off. Just a weird lady, maybe. He thought she was offering him food or something. He turned back to me. She probably just left. She said she'd walk me back to you. She knew I wasn't with her, I said, lower now, voice trembling. She was sitting inside the play place. Dad looked uncomfortable. Not scared, just irritated. Well, she's gone now. Come on. Let's eat and go home. We sat at a booth near the windows. My nuggets were too hot, and I barely touched them. I kept looking toward the exit, half expecting to see her coat moving through the parking lot. But there was no sign of her. No cars pulling out. No footprints in the fresh snowbank along the sidewalk. She was just gone. After a few minutes, Dad got up and asked to speak to the manager. A woman in a red polo came over, wiped her hands on a napkin, and listened as he explained. When he asked about the cameras, she sighed. The ones facing the play area haven't worked in a while, she said. Maintenance was supposed to replace the wiring. I'm really sorry, sir. We haven't had any issues like that before. That was it. We finished the meal in silence, and I didn't go back in the play place. I didn't ask. We drove home, the truck heater fighting to keep the cold out. Dad dropped me off at Mom's place and told her what happened in vague terms. Some lady creeping around, then left. I lay awake for a long time that night. I didn't know the word for it yet, but I felt watched. Not just earlier, now. Like something had noticed me and wasn't done yet. A few weeks passed, and the memory started to blur, like a weird dream you only half believe was real. But then my school counselor handed out flyers. That's when everything clicked back into focus. The flyer had a cartoon cop on it, some generic warning about stranger danger. But the part that made my heart drop was the paragraph beneath. Multiple attempted abductions. Kids around my age, all under 10. Public places, rest stops, fast food restaurants. No suspects caught, no real leads. I went cold. My fingers clenched the flyer so hard it tore at the edge. I tried to tell my mom that night, but I didn't have the right words. I said something like, I think that lady at Burger King was one of them. But it came out too uncertain, like I was just guessing. She gave me a worried look, but said, maybe she was just weird, not dangerous. Not everyone who acts strange is trying to hurt someone, she said. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I went to my room. I kept the flyer in my backpack for months, folded and hidden behind my math folder. Every once in a while, I'd unfold it and look at that bland cop cartoon like he owed me an answer. I never saw her again. But I started noticing things more. Adults watching too long at the park. Cars that idled near the school gate without picking anyone up. People who didn't look like they were buying anything but stood inside gas stations too long. I became cautious, suspicious. Even at 9, I could feel that some people moved differently. Not like predators in movies, but like shadows that didn't belong. Years passed. The memory stayed. I didn't tell anyone else about it until I was 20 during a therapy session in college. I was struggling with anxiety. Social stuff mostly. Couldn't relax in crowded spaces. Avoided diners, fast food joints, especially if they had a play area. The smell of fryer oil made me twitchy. My therapist said trauma could root itself in small moments. Things that don't seem big at the time but carry weight because of what could have happened. The what ifs. I told her the full story. For the first time. Her face didn't change, but she asked me something that stuck with me. She said, "What do you think would have happened if she'd reached you before you ran?" I had no answer. I still don't. And that's the part that always claws at me. Not knowing. Last year, I drove past that same Burger King while visiting family in Missoula. It looked exactly the same. Same beige siding, same weird placement next to the car wash. But the play place was gone. Torn out. Replaced by extra seating and a TV on the wall. I parked and sat in the lot for a while, just watching people come and go. I didn't go inside. I still think about that woman. Not every day, but often enough. I wonder how many other kids she tried that with. If someone didn't run. If anyone ever found her. Or if she just moved on to another town, another fast food joint, another cold Tuesday with barely anyone watching. And sometimes when I see a kid wander too far from their table, I tense up, because I know how fast it can happen, how little it takes. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it smiles, sometimes it offers a milkshake, and sometimes it walks away without ever being caught. The lesson I learned that night is simple but sharp. Trust your gut. No matter your age, no matter how small the threat may seem. If something feels off, it probably is. And acting on instinct, even if it embarrasses you, might just save your life. Long before any of this started, before the shift changes, before Jake disappeared, before I started checking the security mirror every night, I just needed somewhere quiet to start over. Oceanside felt like a good place for that. It wasn't glamorous, but it had enough sun and salt in the air to scrub out the parts of me that still ached from the breakup. I was 24, sleeping on a futon in my aunt's spare room, with 2 duffel bags and a heart that still flinched at the sight of my ex's hoodie. I didn't have a plan, but I needed a paycheck, so I applied at the Burger King across from the surf shop. It was walking distance from the house, and always hiring. No resume needed. Just a pulse and willingness to fry potatoes until midnight. The first few weeks were a blur of grease, short tempers, and customers who thought extra ranch meant I owed them my soul. I kept my head down, took the late shifts, and tried to stay invisible. Then Jake got hired. He was a couple years older than me, tan from the beach, all slouched shoulders and easy smiles. Showed up late to his interview in board shorts and a hoodie that probably still smelled like beer, but somehow still walked out with the job. He worked night shifts with me, flipping burgers and calling me California, even though I was technically from Arizona. We got close fast, not in the way that makes fireworks explode or hearts race, more like 2 tired people finding comfort in each other's silence. He'd wait with me in the lot after close. We'd sit in his beat-up Camry, windows cracked, listening to the ocean slap the rocks just past the highway. One night he said, "We should quit. Open a smoothie shack or something. You'd run the place, and I'd be the hot surfer guy selling acai bowls." I laughed harder than I had in months. But this isn't a love story, at least not that kind. Because while I was learning to breathe again, someone else was already watching. It took me a while to notice Ryan. He was already working there when I started, always early, always quiet. The kind of guy who stocked everything twice and didn't complain when the fryer filter exploded at shift change. At first, he just faded into the background. But then the overlaps started. My break schedules kept changing. Never in my favor, always to match his. At first I brushed it off as coincidence. Then, twice in 1 week, my locker jammed. Both times Ryan appeared like clockwork with a paperclip and a weird smile. "Need a hand?" I said thanks. I meant it the first time. The second time my skin crawled. Once I left my apron in the back room and came back to find it neatly folded. A muffin sat next to it wrapped in a napkin. No note, just a lemon poppy seed baked so perfectly it looked store-bought. I didn't eat it. Something about it felt rehearsed. Jake thought it was funny. "Maybe the guy just likes you," he said, biting into a stale cookie. "Or maybe you've got muffin karma. Or maybe he's the kind of guy who knows exactly when someone's alone," I muttered. Jake raised an eyebrow but didn't push it. That was the thing about Jake, he never made me explain myself. Just sat beside me when things felt off. Then one night, Jake didn't show up. 3 days passed. No calls, no texts. His phone rang once, then straight to voicemail after that. I figured it was car trouble, or maybe he finally followed through on that joke about disappearing into Baja. But after 5 days, I drove to his place. It was a saggy beach house he shared with 2 other guys who were rarely home. His car was parked outside, windows fogged, and a stack of unopened mail clung to the screen door. I knocked. Nothing. The next day, the manager at work said Jake quit. Just like that. No notice, No call. "It happens," she said with a shrug. "People bail." But Jake wouldn't just bail. Not like that. Not without grabbing his hoodie from the lost and found. Not without saying goodbye. A week later, a postcard showed up. No stamp, no envelope. Just slid under the kitchen door sometime between the dinner rush and closing. The front was a washed-out picture of some random coastline. The back said, in careful handwriting, "Sometimes, people don't know what's good for them, so I help." No name, no return address. I showed it to my manager. She frowned, said it was probably a prank, and tossed it in the trash. I fished it out when she wasn't looking. That night, I walked to my car with my keys clenched like a weapon. I didn't see anyone. But when I unlocked the door, I found a smear of wet sand on the driver's side window. My car had been parked under the streetlight, on pavement. No reason for sand, except the beach was only 2 blocks away. I stopped sleeping well after that. Ryan still came to work every day, cheerful now, not the awkward, quiet guy anymore. His eyes met mine more often. He started saying things that didn't sound quite like jokes. "Funny how people just disappear," he said once as we refilled the soda station. I didn't answer. You never know who's paying attention, right? Another time he offered me a muffin again. Banana nut this time. I told him I wasn't hungry. He smiled. "You used to smile more, you know. You seemed happier. Before." Before what? I stopped parking in the back. Started locking my car the second I got in. Started glancing over my shoulder in the freezer, in the supply closet, in the lot across the street where shadows bled into the motel neon. I reported the postcard to the police. They filed a note. But Jake didn't have close family. No one filed a missing persons report. No one pushed. So I did. I tried. But it didn't go anywhere. I still don't know what happened to him. And every now and then, when the night is quiet and the AC hums just right, I swear I hear Jake's laugh from the back alley. It's been almost 6 months since he disappeared. Ryan still works the morning shift, still bakes muffins sometimes, still tries to say my name like it's a secret we're sharing. I stopped talking to him. I keep my phone on me at all times. I check my car tires every night. But sometimes I find sand on the hood again. Just a little, enough to remind me. He never asked me out, never touched me, just waited. And once, after close, when the store was quiet and the soda machines were humming, he passed by me and said, "I knew you'd end up here, eventually." Monsters don't always lurk in forests or abandoned buildings. Sometimes they fold your apron. Sometimes they bring you muffins. Sometimes they smile when someone else disappears. Trust what you feel. Listen to the tension in your chest, not just the words people say. The scariest people are the ones who never cross the line, but stand just close enough to watch you trip over it. They say the weirdest stuff happens on the most normal days. You wake up, hit your routine, punch the clock, and something shifts. Small at first, barely noticeable, like a breath caught in the room. Then you start to feel it in your chest. Something's off. You just don't know how deep the wrongness goes until it's too late to step back. My name's Damien. I was 19 back then, working the back line at a Burger King off Slide Road in Lubbock, Texas. Just one of those stores squeezed between a pawn shop and a dead strip mall where half the neon signs still flicker, even though the stores have been closed for years. I worked evenings mostly, the 4:30 to 11:30 shift. Predictable. The kind of work that didn't require much thinking. You show up, drop fries, flip patties, and clean the grease traps when it's slow. I was saving for community college, trying to get my general eds done cheap. Rent wasn't a problem. I still lived with my dad, who was half deaf and always asleep by 8:00. We didn't talk much. No bad blood or anything, just the kind of quiet that settles when you've both been through enough to keep to your lanes. Mariah had started working there 2 weeks earlier. She was 22, transferred in from a Burger King on the other side of town. Sharp-tongued, serious eyes, always kept her pepper spray on her keys. We weren't close, but we worked in sync. It was the kind of friendship that builds in silence, nods, eye rolls when customers were awful, the occasional exchange of dry jokes over the fryer. That night, it was spring but still chilly, a soft wind pushing dust across the lot. Around 7:20 p.m., things had started to slow down. The dinner rush was behind us, and Mariah nudged me while I was salting fries. "You trust that ice cream guy out there?" she asked. I glanced through the drive-through window. Parked just past the edge of the lot under a broken streetlight was this faded yellow ice cream truck, rust crawling up the sides, one cracked brake light, and a slanted chalkboard sign leaning against the window. "He's been there every night this week," she said. "Just sits there, doesn't play any music, doesn't even move." I shrugged. "Never seen anyone buy from him." "Same. Want to try it? My treat?" Normally, I'd say no, but something about the way she asked, like she was testing her own curiosity, made me nod. Mark, the night manager, didn't care what we did on break. As long as we were back before a customer complained, we could take 10. We stepped out the side door and crossed the lot. Up close, the truck looked worse. Dull paint, wheels black with grime. The guy inside had a hoodie on, face mostly shadowed, wiry gray stubble on his chin. He didn't say a word, just pointed to the board. Vanilla swirl, strawberry push pop, something called Blue Moon written in shaky block letters. Mariah ordered vanilla. The man moved slow, like every motion took effort. He handed over a paper cup of swirl with a wooden spoon. No smile, no "have a nice day." Just stared. We turned to walk, but then he reached out and gripped her wrist. Not hard, not yanking, but wrong. Like he wasn't touching her so much as marking her. "You shouldn't waste your looks in that grease box," he said, voice like gravel washed with syrup. Mariah stiffened. She didn't speak. I stepped in between them. "Let her go," I said. The man looked at me, no blink, just that blank stare, then a smile, crooked, almost amused. "No one likes nosy boys," he said, and released her. We walked back fast. Mariah tossed the cup in the trash before we hit the back door. "Screw that," she muttered. We didn't tell Mark. It was too weird to explain. And honestly, we didn't know how scared we should be. Not yet. The weird energy didn't leave. If anything, it settled into the store like smoke, invisible but thick. You could feel it. I tried to brush it off as just nerves, but even the buzz of the fryer felt more jagged. At 8:10, a man at the counter started yelling about a mobile order he said he placed, claiming Mariah had rung him up. Only she hadn't. I was on register before break. She never touched it. The guy insisted, said she smiled weird when she took his payment. "She's the one with the sharp nose and attitude, right?" he said loud enough for the whole store to hear. Mariah froze. Her face drained. "I didn't take his order," she said to Mark, who looked half asleep as usual. The man knocked over a napkin stand before storming out. Mark didn't even bother writing it up. "People are nuts," he said, walking back to the office. By 9:30, things were slow. I took the trash out to the side lot. There's an alley that runs between the restaurant and the pawn shop next door. I was halfway to the dumpster when I saw him. The ice cream man. He wasn't in the truck. He was standing next to the dumpster smoking, staring into the bin like he'd lost something. His hoodie was pulled up, hands deep in his pockets. I froze, bags in hand. Didn't say anything. Didn't move for a few seconds. I just backed away and went around the long way. I told myself maybe he was just a guy killing time. But who hangs out behind a Burger King at night without speaking? Mariah was wiping tables in the front. I didn't say anything to her either. No reason to scare her more. At 10:15, she came out of the restroom looking pale. "My bag's been opened," she said. "I think my keys are gone." I asked if she dropped them earlier, but she shook her head. Her backpack had been zipped when we went outside. She kept her keys on a ring clipped to the inside pocket. "He was standing by the bins again," she added. "I'm not going back out there." Mark looked over from the mop sink. "Could be anyone," he said. "You sure you didn't just drop them?" We searched the break room, the front counter, even the storage shelf where she hung her bag. Nothing. Mark promised to check the cameras in the morning, but his voice didn't inspire confidence. He sounded like a guy who said whatever got him back to his chair faster. We didn't finish the usual closing checklist, wiped down the bare minimum, cleaned just enough. Something in the air made it hard to stay still for long. By 11:30, the doors were locked. Only employees left. Mariah and I walked out together, moving quickly across the empty lot. Her steps were clipped and fast. Mine matched hers. I kept my keys tight in my hand. The ice cream truck was still there, lights off, no engine, no one inside that we could see, but it sat there like a question that didn't want to be answered. She stopped at her car first. Then she froze. "Do you see that?" she asked, her voice just above a whisper. On her windshield, right above the wiper blade, was a single wrapped popsicle. No note, no price sticker, just a flat green plastic wrapper with no writing. I pulled out my phone and called the cops. They showed up 20 minutes later. 2 officers. One older, one looked fresh out of academy training. I gave them the rundown. They took it seriously at first until they turned to look, and the truck was gone. No engine noise, no lights, no sound of wheels on gravel. Just gone. No tire marks either. The dust on the far side of the lot hadn't been disturbed. It was like the truck had vanished, not driven off. Disappeared. Mariah filed a report. I gave my version. The younger cop wrote everything down. The older one just nodded like he'd heard stranger things and didn't have time to care. "All right," he said. "We'll keep an eye out." That was it. Mariah didn't come in the next night. Said she was staying with a cousin in Amarillo for a while. I didn't blame her. Mark checked the security footage the next day. Everything before 9 was fine. But right after that, static. The feed just cut to black and stayed that way until morning. "Must be a glitch," he said, scratching his chin. Weird timing, though. No one followed up. No detective. No patrols. Just a small town shrug and another shift. I kept working. We were short-staffed and I needed the money, but I stopped taking breaks outside. I stayed near exits, and I started walking coworkers to their cars. The truck didn't show up for a week. Then one Tuesday night I saw it again. Far down Slide Road past the pawn shop and the Walgreens, parked just under a busted billboard. No lights, just waiting. I didn't tell anyone. I still saw Mariah's empty locker every shift. Still remembered her pale face when she found her keys missing. And every time I passed the alley, I felt that same wrongness in my chest. Like the air itself knew what we'd seen, and didn't want us to talk about it. That was over a year ago. Mariah never came back. I hear she's doing okay. New job, new city. She messaged me once. "Still think about that night? Hope you're staying safe." That was all. I still work nights at that Burger King. Haven't seen the ice cream truck in months. But some part of me expects it, like it's still out there, somewhere. And some nights, just before close, I look down the road. If the streetlight's flickering and the wind's just right, I swear I can hear the faint hum of a freezer engine, one that shouldn't still be running. I don't walk alone to my car anymore. And I never take popsicles from strangers. When something feels wrong, even if it's small or strange or can't be fully explained, listen. Because danger doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it just parks nearby and waits for you to come closer. I've always believed that quiet people hear the loudest truths. The world moves fast for most, but not for me. I live slow, steady. Same alarm every morning at 5:15. Same coffee, black, no sugar. Same 15-minute drive down Main Street in a rusted-out 97 Toyota Corolla with a cracked windshield and the heater stuck on warm. I've been working at the Burger King on the outskirts of Billings for 11 years.